The morning the billionaire's wheelchair rolled into the grocery store, nobody noticed him. Everyone was too busy laughing at the exhausted single father struggling to balance 3 delivery bags on one shoulder while gently holding his little son's hand with the other. Every mocking smile, every whispered insult, and every cruel glance cut deeper than hunger ever could. They saw a poor grocery delivery driver wearing faded shoes and an old jacket patched together more times than anyone could count. What they failed to see was the man whose compassion would soon accomplish something that the world's greatest doctors had declared impossible for 17 long years. If you believe kindness always finds its way back, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Hardworking Dad for more emotional stories that remind us humanity is still alive. Every day before sunrise, Rowan Mercer woke to the same routine. He quietly slipped out of the tiny apartment he rented on the edge of the city, careful not to wake his 7-year-old son, Jasper. The apartment was hardly large enough for 2 people, with cracked walls that let the winter wind creep inside and a kitchen where every meal was carefully measured so nothing would be wasted. Life had changed forever after Rowan lost his wife during a sudden illness 4 years earlier. Overnight, he became both father and mother, carrying the impossible weight of grief while trying to become the kind of parent his son deserved. Every dollar mattered. Every shift mattered. Every smile he forced onto his tired face mattered because Jasper believed his father could solve every problem in the world. Rowan spent 12 hours every day delivering groceries across the city. Rain soaked him. Summer heat drained him. Snow froze his fingers around shopping bags until he could barely feel them. Still, he never complained. He understood that life was not interested in fairness. It only rewarded those who refused to surrender. The customers rarely remembered his name. Some barely looked at him. Others treated him like invisible furniture that happened to carry their food. A few generous people offered a kind word or a warm smile, but most simply closed their doors without a thank you. Rowan accepted every moment with quiet dignity because dignity was one thing poverty could never steal unless he allowed it. Jasper often waited by the apartment window after school, counting every passing car until his father appeared. Their evenings were simple but precious. They cooked inexpensive dinners together, finished homework at the old kitchen table, and ended every night reading adventure books borrowed from the public library. Rowan could not afford expensive toys or vacations, but he gave his son something far more valuable. He gave him love that never ran out, patience that never disappeared, and honesty that never changed with circumstances. Across the city lived Alastair Vaughan, the founder of one of the nation's largest technology companies. 17 years earlier, a devastating car accident had left him paralyzed from the waist down. The accident had taken more than his ability to walk. It had stolen his joy, his confidence, and much of his faith in life itself. Specialists from around the world examined him. Experimental treatments came and went. Millions of dollars disappeared into medical research that promised hope but delivered disappointment. Eventually even the most respected doctors quietly admitted that walking again was almost impossible. Despite his enormous wealth, Alastair often felt poorer than Rowan. Money filled every room of his mansion with luxury, yet loneliness echoed through every hallway. Employees respected him, investors admired him, but genuine human connection had become painfully rare. Most people approached him wanting something. Few cared about the man behind the fortune. One bright afternoon, Rowan received an unusually large grocery order for a luxurious estate. The bags were heavy enough to make his shoulders ache, but he smiled politely as he approached the elegant entrance. Several expensive cars lined the driveway while guests attended a business gathering inside. As Rowan carefully unloaded the groceries, a few sharply dressed visitors glanced toward him with amused expressions. Someone laughed at his worn shoes. Another joked that he looked like he carried the entire supermarket on his back. Their laughter spread easily among the crowd. Rowan heard every word. His cheeks burned with embarrassment, yet he kept arranging the groceries neatly. Jasper, who had accompanied him because school had ended early, squeezed his father's hand tightly. Rowan simply smiled at his son and whispered that kindness always mattered more than pride. Those quiet words unexpectedly reached Alastair, who happened to be watching from his wheelchair near the entrance. Something about Rowan's calm response disturbed him. Most people either argued or walked away angry. Rowan had chosen compassion instead. Curious, Alastair invited the father and son inside for a glass of water before they continued their deliveries. As Rowan entered the mansion, he noticed framed awards covering the walls and advanced medical equipment arranged throughout the spacious living room. He realized the man before him had likely spent years searching for a miracle. During their conversation, Rowan learned about the accident and the 17 years of unsuccessful treatments. Rather than offering empty encouragement, Rowan simply listened with genuine empathy. Before becoming a delivery driver, Rowan had worked alongside his late wife, who had been a physical rehabilitation therapist. During those years, he often assisted patients with daily exercises and learned countless techniques designed to awaken weakened muscles and rebuild damaged confidence. He never claimed to be an expert, but he remembered something his wife always believed. She insisted that many patients stopped improving because they eventually stopped believing improvement was possible. Over the following weeks, Rowan continued delivering groceries to the mansion. Each visit lasted only a few extra minutes, yet a quiet friendship slowly formed. Instead of discussing business or wealth, they spoke about family, resilience, and purpose. Jasper often entertained Alastair by sharing stories from school, making the lonely billionaire laugh harder than he had in years. One afternoon Rowan noticed something almost everyone else overlooked. When Alastair laughed deeply, one of his legs twitched ever so slightly. It was barely noticeable, but Rowan remembered his wife's excitement whenever patients displayed even the smallest response. Tiny progress often meant hidden possibilities. Carefully and respectfully, Rowan mentioned what he had observed. Alastair admitted no doctor had paid attention to those tiny movements because they considered them meaningless. Rowan suggested simple daily exercises based on techniques he remembered helping his wife demonstrate years before. They required patience rather than expensive machines. More importantly, they required hope. At first, nothing seemed to change. Days became weeks. Rowan visited after completing deliveries, often exhausted from carrying groceries all day. Instead of resting, he spent precious free time encouraging Alastair through gentle movements and endless repetition. Jasper joined every session, cheering every tiny improvement as though his favorite team had scored the winning goal. Meanwhile, many people mocked Rowan for wasting time helping a billionaire who had already spent fortunes on medical experts. Friends questioned his judgment. Co-workers laughed that a grocery delivery driver believed he knew more than famous specialists. Rowan ignored every criticism because he was not trying to prove anyone wrong. He was simply trying to remind one broken man that giving up was the only guarantee of failure. Months passed before the impossible slowly began revealing itself. Alastair's muscles responded more consistently. His balance improved. Sensation gradually returned in places doctors believed would remain permanently numb. Medical examinations confirmed unexpected neurological activity. Specialists who had once spoken with certainty suddenly admitted they could not fully explain the remarkable progress. News spread quickly through the city. Reporters gathered outside the mansion. Television crews interviewed renowned physicians searching for answers. Yet the greatest transformation had little to do with medicine. Alastair smiled again. He laughed freely. He stopped measuring life by everything he had lost and started appreciating everything he still possessed. Then came the unforgettable morning. Employees, doctors, therapists, investors, and journalists filled the rehabilitation center where Alastair attempted something he had not done for 17 years. Rowan stood quietly beside Jasper near the back of the room, hoping only for the best without expecting miracles. The room fell completely silent. Alastair gripped the support rails with trembling hands. His breathing became uneven. Every face watched in nervous anticipation. Slowly, painfully, his legs pushed against the floor. His body shook with determination stronger than fear. For one breathtaking moment nothing happened. Then, against every prediction, he rose. He stood. Not for hours. Not even for minutes. But he stood completely upright on his own feet. Tears streamed down countless faces as disbelief gave way to overwhelming joy. Doctors applauded. Nurses cried openly. Reporters lowered their cameras because some moments deserved to be witnessed through grateful eyes rather than expensive lenses. Jasper threw his arms around his father, unable to stop smiling. Rowan remained frozen, overwhelmed by memories of his late wife whose belief in human resilience had quietly inspired every step of this extraordinary journey. The headlines celebrated a medical mystery, but Alastair knew the truth reached far beyond science. Recovery had begun the day a tired grocery delivery driver refused to let strangers' laughter harden his heart. Compassion had succeeded where hopelessness had failed. Faith had survived where certainty had surrendered. Alastair refused to let Rowan return to anonymous deliveries. Instead of offering charity, he offered partnership. Together they established a rehabilitation foundation dedicated to helping families who could never afford expensive physical therapy. Rowan became the heart of the organization, ensuring every patient received dignity before treatment and hope before promises. Thousands of families found renewed strength because one struggling father had chosen kindness over bitterness. Life changed dramatically for Rowan and Jasper. They moved into a comfortable home, not because luck suddenly appeared, but because years of quiet integrity finally found recognition. Jasper watched his father become a respected leader without ever forgetting the humble apartment where their greatest lessons had been learned. Rowan often reminded his son that success meant very little if it caused someone to forget the people still carrying heavy bags through difficult seasons. Even the guests who had once laughed at Rowan eventually returned with apologies. Many admitted they had judged him by worn clothing instead of unwavering character. Rowan accepted every apology without resentment because forgiveness had always been stronger than revenge. He understood that changing hearts created greater victories than embarrassing those who had once mocked him. Years later, visitors entering the rehabilitation center noticed a simple framed photograph hanging near the entrance. It showed a grocery delivery driver carrying heavy bags while holding his little son's hand beneath the bright afternoon sun. Beneath the picture appeared a sentence that inspired everyone who walked through the doors. Never underestimate the strength of a heart that refuses to stop caring. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, leave a comment about the kindest person you have ever met, and subscribe to Hardworking Dad so together we can spread more stories that remind the world compassion still changes lives. Special request, comment, kindness creates miracles. If you believe even the smallest act of compassion can completely change someone's future. As Rowan watched patients take their first hopeful steps every day, he realized that the greatest miracle had never been making a paralyzed billionaire stand after 17 years. The real miracle was proving that kindness shown by an ordinary father could lift countless broken hearts back onto their feet. And in a world that often laughs before it understands, that is the kind of miracle we should never stop believing in.